This is Channel 9 Eyewitness News at 4. Coverage you can count on.
Right now at 4, the U.S. Senate could soon approve a new more than $450 billion emergency funding plan. Now we're breaking down how that money is expected to be divided up. Plus, how leaders in one local county are working to expand COVID-19 testing and make it more accessible for residents. And the reopened Florida task force focused on tourism today during its second meeting. The four-stage plan the state's tourism marketing agency laid out to try to get the industry back on its feet. And the governor is going to talk today at 4:30. We'll bring that to you. The plan the Senate is considering includes $350 billion to a popular small business loan program that actually ran out of money last week. Good afternoon. I'm Greg Warmouth. Again, Vanessa Eccles is reporting from home. Let's go through the latest numbers from the State Department of Health. Today, officials reported more than 400 new cases, bringing the state total to nearly 27,500. Locally, there are nearly 3,500 cases in all. There's a county-by-county breakdown on the left side of your screen. Officials also reported another 16 deaths, but none in Central Florida. There have also been nearly 250,000 negative tests statewide. Now, we have a team of reporters spread out across Central Florida putting together new stories about the impact COVID-19 is having on our community and how folks are handling it. You'll hear from them over the next 2.5 hours. We begin with Channel 9 Shannon Butler, who listened to the conference call for the state's reopened task force today. And Shannon, tourism was the big part of the discussion. What did you take from the conversation?
Well, it really is the bread and butter for Florida. The tourism group Visit Orlando has now put together kind of a data dashboard on its website. It is that data now that will drive decisions. That decision driving will also be on the reopening. As other states like Georgia and South Carolina get ready to slowly reopen, as soon as this week, the reopened Florida task force met for the second day. This morning, the task force focused on tourism, the industry, one of the hardest hit by the pandemic. Coronavirus hit the Sunshine State during the busiest tourism time, spring break. And you can tell between March 1st and April 11th, hotel revenues were down by over $1.6 billion compared to the same time last year. Today, the president of Visit Florida said they have a four-stage plan for tourism marketing to try to get Florida back on its feet. Right now, Dana Young says we're at stage 1, and members of the task force wanted to know how we get to the next phase of Floridians taking an in-state vacation.
What are we looking for timing on the marketing and then also opening up?
Well, we are in phase 1 now. Phase 2 will begin when the stay-at-home order is lifted and when it is determined that tourism, hospitality businesses can begin operating.
But even with a specific date, the state will be fighting the psyche of Floridians who are still scared to go out. But Visit Florida thinks that people will soon be ready to at least drive. And once that gets underway, the state will move towards the next step of bringing in domestic and international travelers to spend their money. Now, there is some good news. Visit Florida says on their travel safety page, they had 11 times the amount of traffic that they did last year during Dorian on the busiest day. They say that shows that people do want to get out. People do want to come to Florida. Now, coming up at 5 o'clock, this reopened Florida task force discussed the restaurants. They look like they'll be some of the first ones to reopen. The question is, how do you do that? Greg.
All right, of course, that's going to be a big story we're going to follow. Governor DeSantis will talk at 4:30. We'll bring that to you, and we'll see what he has to say. Meantime, another answer that he has to bring to the table, 1 in 4 rejected. Of those accepted, only 15% have been paid. We're talking about unemployment. The new numbers from Florida on unemployment are by any measure bad and only made worse when you consider we are now more than a month into this process. Channel 9 political reporter Christopher Heath went through the data today, finding Florida is failing by just about every single measure.
When the cruise ships stopped sailing, Javier Cortez found himself out of a job.
Due to COVID-19, since they closed down the cruise terminals, I've been furloughed since March 15th.
That is when Javier applied for unemployment. He got a response, but no money.
Now the one that pops up is it says that I'm eligible for monetary benefits, but now when it shows to where I'm supposed to get money, it shows that I'm disqualified.
This week, amid complaints over transparency, the Department of Economic Opportunity, which runs unemployment, started publishing daily stats. As of the last report, 1 out of every 4 people who've applied for benefits have been ruled ineligible. Javier is one of those, and DEO won't tell him why.
Sir, I've been calling, and it's been a constant, can't get through, can't get a hold of anybody.
Now, more than a month into the shutdown, DEO has only processed 25% of its 1.6 million claims, the lowest percentage in the entire United States. What's more, it's paid just a fraction, only 15%, leaving hundreds of thousands wondering what to do next. We're also hearing from workers whose status is listed as resolved completed. DEO says these are applications that have been submitted for review but have not said how long that will take. Reporting from Orlando, Christopher Heath, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
As the economy continues to grapple with the coronavirus pandemic, the Senate could soon vote on a more than $450 billion plan to help struggling businesses and hospitals. ABC's Ines de la Cotera explains how that money will be divided up.
Nurses gathering outside the White House to protest the lack of protective gear for healthcare workers.
It's scary. It's extremely scary to not know whether or not you're protected enough to take care of these patients.
Some financial help could soon be on the way for hospitals. Democratic leaders on Capitol Hill saying lawmakers and the White House have reached a deal on a new $450 billion relief package. Senator Chuck Schumer telling CNN the bill will include $75 billion for hospitals.
There's still a few more I's to dot and T's to cross, but we have a deal.
The new legislation would also pump an additional $310 billion into the Paycheck Protection Program for small businesses, which ran out of money last week. President Trump endorsing the deal, writing on Twitter, "I urge the Senate to pass the Paycheck Protection Program and Healthcare Enhancement Act with additional funding for PPP, hospitals, and testing." But while there is now bipartisan agreement on a new relief bill, a late-night tweet from the president floating the idea he might sign an executive order that would ban all immigration into the U.S. is sparking deep partisan divisions.
He hasn't gotten us the testing. He's not getting us the stimulus funding. He's not doing his job. So he's going to his all-time favorite distraction, immigration.
This as businesses around the nation continue to grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic. Another pork processing plant shutting down in Minnesota because of an outbreak among its employees.
I don't know how long we'll be shut down, but eventually if we can get everybody tested and see where we're at, and then hopefully get back to work.
The new package comes on top of another $2 trillion deal passed last month. Today, White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett hinting,
I think that the odds of there being at least one more tranche of policy are very, very high.
Ines de la Cotera, ABC News, Washington.
And the House is expected to consider that new relief bill as early as Thursday. Vanessa?
Several coordinated Reopen Florida protests are planned across the state for this weekend, in fact, and the gathering here in Orlando is set for noon at Lake Eola. But here's the thing, Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer says the group hasn't secured a permit to protest there, and he says Lake Eola is not for rent. We ask why people are allowed to gather in big groups despite that stay-at-home order. The Orange County Sheriff told us that he cannot order people to keep them from their First Amendment right to protest. In just about 30 minutes from now, Orange County's mobile testing site will end its second day of testing. The site was in the South Econ Park area. That was today. That's the closest it will get to the county's most infected zip code, which is 32822. That's the Conway area. To get tested at the mobile site, you don't need to have symptoms. However, you do need an appointment. 150 people signed up for today's testing. County officials say they can take a lot more because people are in and out in less than 4 minutes for the testing.
For those who may think that the appointments are taken, we have plenty of space to take you.
Tomorrow, the mobile site will be at Camping World Stadium. Later in the week, it will also make stops at Barnett Park and West Orange Park. To make an appointment, call the Orange County COVID-19 hotline. That number is on your screen right now, 407-723-5004. Lake County leaders say they are working to help residents there have more access to testing and have more options as well. Right now, if people want to be tested, they have to travel to the state site in Orange County, or they can use the testing site in Mount Dora, but there you have to pay $85. The Department of Health has a free testing site in Lake County, but it's by appointment only and certain criteria has to be met. Today, Channel 9's Mert Price talked with county leaders about their future plans.
Yesterday, Commissioner Leslie Campione sent out a letter, and in it, she talked about the county partnering with health providers in order to make it easier for people to get tested. Last week, we told you when this testing site opened at Adult Medicine in Mount Dora, it was the first to open in Lake County where anyone could go to get tested for $85.
Just to be safe so that we don't have to worry about it.
We learned that administrators here have partnered with Lake County to offer testing. It's one of several testing sites that Lake County is working to have in place by tomorrow. Commissioner Leslie Campione sent out this letter yesterday. In it, she wrote, "We expect to have 3 drive-through locations open by Wednesday, April 22nd in each region of our county, where Lake County residents can be tested at a cost of $20. Officials say people will be able to get tested if they have symptoms or not. The commissioner went on to say the health department in Lake County will continue to offer free tests. Residents have to call and set up an appointment, and if they meet the criteria, they will be directed to this location in Leesburg to be tested. People we talked to believe ramping up tests is the way to go in order to get businesses back open and things back to normal.
$20, I think many people would obviously spend that money in a second if that helps get, this business back rolling, not just ours, but, the whole economy.
Officials say the testing sites will also offer antibody testing for people who want to pay for it. Mert Price, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Later this week, Advent Health will open another drive-through COVID-19 testing site in Kissimmee. In fact, this will be the 10th site in Kissimmee. It'll open Thursday at Osceola Heritage Park. Now, you don't need to be showing symptoms to get tested there, but you do need an appointment. You can make one online. We've posted a link to the registration page. It's on our website, WFTV.com. And by the way, the sign-up is already open.